recorded, and because it's, and I see record button has just come on now, so it's being recorded in order that other people can use it. So if you have some IT hassles, you can't always hear me, something goes wrong, it will be there for you. And if you think that it's useful then in your hospice to show it to other people, please, please make use of the resource. Welcome, Laura. So what does it take to work in the hospice sector? When I started thinking about this program, and we did it as a pilot, I thought, wow, it really takes, you need the brains of Einstein to do this work, because you have to be so onto exactly what's going on right across your hospice that you're working, your team that you're working for, the people who are coming and going, the patients, not to mention the latest advances in palliative care. So you need the brains of Einstein. You need the stamina of Mo Farah just to keep on going, and you need the patience of Mother Teresa. That is a massive ask. But I'm so impressed by what it is that it takes for you to do that. So what we want to think about is, how do you then protect the brains, the stamina, the patients? And to do that, what we're going to do is a series of webinars over 12 months. And I'm going to ask you to do some work in the group, by yourselves, in the room and outside. And what I thought what might be useful for you, and well, let's just try it to see if it works, and we want your feedback at the end of sessions, is to give you an evidence-based practice tip for you personally to go away and work on. Now, I thought it would be useful. I know that some of you, like me, are slightly tech nervous, but I thought it would be really helpful if we could just create a WhatsApp group. And so if you send us your phone numbers and you've got a smartphone, just download WhatsApp and you can post questions, thoughts, reflections, and I can pop little messages to you in any papers that I think are worth having, in order that we can just keep going on reflective practice, because you know that that's something that really makes a difference. All good? So ask me any questions. Other than music, I might be able to do something, but not about that. So some scene setting. This was in springtime near my house. I went for a walk in the wood, and I thought, let's have a nice picture, because we know that resilience is impacted by going for walks in woods, believe it or not, and I'll talk about that another time. But so some scene setting. In this session, what I'd like to do is just think, how does resilience show up? How it might have an impact at work, run through a brief definition, and then go through something theoretical and to give us a kind of framework for how it works. So that's what this webinar will be about. So in order that we just do some work together, what I'd love to do now is just spend 10 minutes. So in your room, wherever you're at, so now by my watch, it's 14:08. What I'd love you to do is to think about one of these. So just one, what adds to your resilience, what subtracts from it, how do you experience resilience in others, and what are the burnout or resilience indicators? So just pick one of those, and in the room that you're in, have a chat about it. And when you've had that chat, pop something in the chat so that we can see what we all think. Is that clear? Because if it isn't clear, put me a message in chat. I'm going to type you one now. All good? Yes?
No, slides should be available afterwards.
Okay. Yes? So you're going to have a chat now amongst yourselves. So I can see some of you are not chatting, you're looking at me. Have a chat, have a think.
Can't make it work. Click on run. Not working. It was working earlier. Working. So I think I've just done. Some dawn and that's it. So I just turn her off. Yeah. I'm not really on.
Move on. All right, everybody. I think you seem to have been having some good conversations. Can you hear me? The Donna Louise Trust, can you hear me? Hi, Donna Louise.
Yes, we can hear you. We were on mute. Okay.
That's good. Good.
You want to
okay, so
mic on or go on mute again?
Okay, you go on mute again. I just want to just check in that you can hear me. So St Luke's Hospice, are you with me again?
Yeah, we're here. Hi.
Okay. Thank you. So we all are clear about what these indicators are, but sometimes it's really difficult to know what to do about them. So the question is then, how do you think about this in the context of a whole? Because a holistic approach, as you know, is one of the ones that is most efficacious. So if we look at Eye Opener, what we've done is a lot of research into what makes people happy at work and drives performance, and we call it the performance happiness model, because you see it turn up in performance first. So if I just briefly outline what this model is. So at the top at 12 o'clock, you can see you've got contribution, and contribution is about the effort that you make. And there's some things in there which are you would expect under people's contribution, and that's about having clear goals, clear objectives, getting positive feedback, feeling listened to, getting respect. So that's some of the elements that make up contribution. Then between 2 and 3 o'clock, you've got conviction, and conviction is your short-term motivation. So conviction includes motivation and resilience. So now these things, why are they short-term? Because they go up and down, and it slightly depends on who you're with and what you're doing. So I know that I've got more resilience when I'm doing things that play to my strengths, to what I'm good at, and I feel more motivated to do some of the things that I enjoy. So if you sit me down in front of a spreadsheet and ask me to look at the VAT numbers, yes, of course I can do it, but it draws something from me in terms of my energy. And that may not always be positive. Now, if you look then at between 4 and 5 o'clock, you've got culture, and culture is your feeling of fit. When you feel you fit inside an organisation and the values match, your motivation, your resilience is more. So that's why it's connected up towards conviction. Moving on, at 7 o'clock, we've got commitment, and commitment is your long-term motivation to keep doing something. And when something's in tune with your values, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to stay with it and keep doing it. And then confidence at 9 o'clock is what it says on the tin. So confidence, for me, is one of the gateways, and it's a big indicator of resilience, because when you feel resilient, you feel confident in making a decision. When you don't feel resilient, your confidence goes down. And as you know, those of you who know the Maslow burnout inventory, one of the things you then don't feel is that you are competent in what you're doing. So then that affects your contribution. So you see you get this kind of vicious circle of everything going round and round together. And that's why we call this an ecosystem. And at the heart of that ecosystem, you feel that you're achieving your potential. And then round the outside, this is particularly important for leaders, is how do you create trust inside the organisation and pride, and then give recognition back to someone. So you want them to walk away feeling that they are a trusted partner in this joint operation that you're all working towards, and that they feel proud to say that they work for your organisation, and they get some recognition back from doing what they're doing. And just a quick mention, Maslow inventory, for those of you who know it, it's burnout inventory, is included in the IPPQ. So we want to just look at some pre and post measures of the burnout inventory as well. So that's the performance happiness model, and just to reiterate that resilience sits inside conviction, this short-term thing, because it goes up and down. When you feel too little resilience, then your commitment goes right shooting down, and that is when you start thinking, I can't do this. This isn't for me. I don't know how to manage myself. And we get all the indicators appearing. So lack of sleep, lack of motivation, feeling ratty, all the things that you've mentioned. So then that leads us to what is resilience? Well, I think it's the capacity to withstand the general knocks in life and to bounce back, or to even bounce forward in a psychologically healthy manner. Because I'm sure that you've seen in your careers, some people, they can withstand the knocks, but it's the bouncing that then doesn't happen, and they become energy drains. And I'm sure you've walked into a room and you've felt that when the life is slightly being sucked out of you, because there's an energy drain there. So that's what I think that resilience is in the work that I've been doing. And just to say that I work with quite a lot of people who face these issues, and as the world asks us to do more for less and to be creative in the way that we do it, I don't think that our need for resilience is going to go down. It can only go up, especially with more uncertainty that is inherently built into our lives around funding and managing more people and understanding how palliative care is changing. So that's our definition of resilience. And then the question is, well, are you resilient because you get something in, or you're showing it, and is it something you're born with or that you learn to do? And that is not something that's clear in all the literature and all the research. And just to go through another few definitions with you, Bonanno, who did a lot of research around 9/11, thinks it's the capacity to move forward. So we have got that. Another definition is looking at positive adaptation. So can you flex when you come under challenge or threat? And here we're getting a really long one, but I think the heart of it is a good outcome. So can you get to a good outcome in the face of adversity and not a bad outcome? Serious sequelae, okay, fine. I'm trying to, I think it's easier if we talk about this in the terms that we might use them. So, for example, I'd never go home and say to my husband, you know, sweetheart, I think there are going to be some serious sequelae to what's going on in our relationship now. I'd go, I've got a problem, help! So I think that using language that we would use is important. And so then we've got here again successful adaptation to adversity and ability to withstand knocks. I think we're all talking about the same thing. You get something negative, you're able to deal with it and move forward. But the good news, here's the good news about resilience. We know that some stress is good. And there's a lot of talk about distress and eustress. So distress is bad, but the eustress is good because it makes us creative. It makes us come up with new ideas. We also know that people are much, much more resilient than we know and that they know. And I'm sure that you've seen that when you're caring for people. You sometimes it's breathtaking what people have to put up with, and they are, you know, we're struck with admiration about what they do, and that's a positive. They set us a great example, and we are influenced and impacted by that. Now, we know that we are not damaged by experiencing bad stuff if it's stuff that we can cope with. So I think there's a yes but to there for me. Obviously, some people are hardier than others, and quite often those tender flowers, you think, oh, they're going to have a really rough time, and wow, they're much more resilient than you think, and the people who appear to be super resilient are not. We do also know that doing difficult things exercises our resilience. So resilience is really like a muscle, and the more you build it up and work it, the better it will be. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for us to go through. We do also know about resilience, just finally, that it is domain and people specific. So meaning that some people and some things add to it, and some people and some things drain it from us. So that's what we know about resilience. And I thought this was brilliant. I thought I really need to share this with you. I didn't share this on the pilot. People who are resilient have some shared characteristics. Sorry guys, women are more resilient than men, and there's quite a lot of literature that shows that, and I've put the papers at the bottom. So we know that you're more likely to be resilient if you're a woman, if you are socially responsible, so you put your hand up to do some of the difficult moral and ethical things, and I'm going, okay, hospice sector, that you're good communicators, so you're prepared to stand up and say things as they are, which of course is what you have to do when you're dealing with death and dying and palliative care. It's exactly what you have to do, and you are super well trained to do that. You have to be capable of self-reflection to be resilient, so that means taking the time to think, which is why it's great to do this now. Flexibility comes into this because the more rigid you are and the more you want to do it with one particular way of things, the harder it gets, and I'm sure that you have also seen that in your work. Flexibility and ability to roll with the punches is incredibly important, as is having an end goal and just being willing to see that through. So determination is important, and great relationships. So good social and family relationships are one of the key things that you know picks you up. So if that's difficult, of course there's going to be what's called spillover effect, so that it becomes harder for you at work. So if things are difficult for you at work, they affect your family, and if things are difficult in your family, it affects work. But the work to family effect looks like it's stronger from the family to work effect, because we go to work to then forget some of it. And finally, we've got peer support. So peer support is incredibly important. I can't stress that enough. Peer support is super important for doing well and being resilient. Somebody isn't muted. I don't know if someone just come in or gone out, but if you could mute your phone or your line, that'd be great. It should be red. Yes, you should get a little red audio button. So then you've got all this stuff. So we had one model, where does resilience sit? We had some research. Oh, thank you for muting the line. And then we've got another. Here's another model, and this model is all about, okay, how are we going to work together? And this is what I thought we should share in understanding how we'll work together over the next few sessions. So let's look at the bottom of the model. Now, this model was developed by someone who's Stefan van Istendaal, and was first used in the hospice sector at St Christopher's in the 90s. And he said that there's nothing really theoretical about this, but he just wanted to put together something that would give a framework for how do you work on resilience, where do all the pieces fit together. So look at the bottom, you've got physical health. Obviously you can't be resilient if you haven't got great physical health. And if you are in poor physical shape, immediately that reduces your resilience. Then you've got the foundations of the house. And we were just mentioning how peer networks and friendships, family are so important. So that sits at the bottom of it. So when that's not great, then the house won't have the foundations that it needs. And on the ground floor, the capacity to discover sense, meaning, and coherence, this is where self-reflection comes in, because you can't make sense of stuff, find meaning, and see how it all joins up. And we know that having things joined up is a very basic indicator of mental health and resilience, understanding your journey. That comes with self-reflection, which is where it's so important. Then you look on the first floor and you've got humour, and I know that in the hospice sector particularly, black humour is very important. Skills and competencies, obviously, and we'll be working on some of those, and how you feel about yourself. So this is where peer coaching helps. So your self-esteem, it's a big indicator. If you don't feel good about yourself and you don't feel capable, we know that that is not great for resilience. And then you've got in the attic other experiences to be discovered, and hopefully we'll be discovering some of those on our journey together. And that is where it's important to be open and to say, okay, well, I'll give this a go. If it doesn't work, at least I tried and I know. So I'm now just going to give you a couple of seconds to say, I'll ask you, are there any questions in what I've said so far? Is there anything that you want to ask me so far? So type away.
We don't have any questions here at the moment. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I can see some chat. All right. So if there aren't any questions, I'll move on. So I thought that one of the, let me just go back. Right. One of the things that matters, and this is a top tip for us to take away. So this is our first top tip for you to think about, and I'd love you to share two things at the end of this webinar. So I thought we'd talk about how do you leave work at work, because I know that that is really, really hard. So it's the mind race. I saw that was referred to in the chat. How do you turn your brain off when it's whizzing around? And we know that performance is really improved if you can detach yourself from work and leave work at work. And it's been long known, the Zeigarnik effect is how do you actually manage to switch off. And so Zeigarnik was a psychologist who discovered that, and honestly, psychology sometimes it's not rocket science, is that when you've got an unfulfilled goal, meaning you haven't actually done it, it occupies your brain space, and it will keep occupying your brain space until it's completed. And that's because you've got something called goal tension, and it's just in your brain as not being done. And those are the things that wake us up. And if you've got people who work for you, sometimes you also take on board their goals, and you get goal tension around their goal tension, which is horrible. So not only is your brain buzzing with what you haven't done, but it's buzzing with what they haven't done as well. So there's some other research that was just done very, very recently, was published last month, saying that creating a plan frees up attention. So all that stuff that's said about, okay, on Friday evening, if you haven't finished something, sit and plan for the next week. It's really important, especially if you are really committed to your job. So if you're really committed and a driver and passionate about what you do, it's important to make that plan just to free up your brain space. And if you don't do that, then what happens is you worry about it over the weekend. So that's one tactic. And the second tactic is to plan a partner activity. Because when you're alone, your brain can still keep whizzing round. But if you plan to do something with a partner, then what happens is you're having a conversation with your partner and you're experiencing the event itself, and you're more likely to talk about that thing. So then your brain gets filled up with something immediate and positive. And in doing that, you create some distance between you and the goal and some perspective. So it's having a plan, it's doing something with a partner, and it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be, you know, I must get in the car and drive to the nearest beach. It can just be, let's cook a meal, let's go for a walk, let's do something together, let's watch telly together. So that's how you manage that. Then I thought, wow, in reading this research, it then becomes a goal to detach from the goal. So you can get yourself in a real double loop here, but at least you understand what you're doing. And I think that this recognition of, okay, this is what I'm intentionally doing, is one of the things that helps us with resilience, because you're taking action for yourself. So leaving work at work, so that's one thing for you to do. So what I'd love to do now is for you to think with a partner about what is the one thing, because it's Thursday today, what is the thing that I could do which wouldn't be an enormous ask. I might spend time with a member of my family, I might spend time with a close friend, I might call somebody up, and I'm doing this in order to help myself build resilience, because I know that the people that I'm going to be with make me feel good and make me feel worthwhile and solid and competent and capable, and they build me up. So they're adding to my resilience. So that is one thing. And then the second thing I'd love you to do is to think, okay, so that's a short-term goal. A long-term goal will be, I'd love you to have some expectations for this, all our WebExes that we're going to share together, and just to post to me some expectations that you have. So you might like to talk to them in your room, you might like just to put them in the chat box and think, all right, this is what we're going to do throughout the series of WebExes. We're going to understand what resilience is. In the next session, we're going to be thinking about how you manage your whole self, and we'll do a Wheel of Life exercise. Then we'll think about peer coaching and how do you work together to support each other. We'll investigate energy and where and how energy is spent. We'll look at strengths. Understanding how you have control in something is really important for resilience. And so we'll look at that, and we've got some exercises to do there. I want to think about team resilience, because we know that resilience is connected with others, and so what's going on inside a team. we've got lots and lots of tools to share for creating a positive mindset, and so we'll look at that well into 2017. And point number 9 is about thinking about how you recognize emotional labor and what emotional labor is and how you proactively cope. How do you, when you're in a difficult situation, understand this is what's happening and proactively cope. And yesterday, just to give you a quick example of that, my daughter is working and she's in a job where she's not being paid, she's interning 12-hour days. And I was so proud of her yesterday because she said to me, "Mum, I could have got caught up in the madness, but I just took a little step back, breathed, saw that they were all running around and understood that somebody had to be calm in here. And she was the calm one. Well done her." So how do we do that for ourselves? And finally, we're going to look at recognition and how do you give recognition to each other, because that is something that builds resilience for other people. So we've got some video clips to look at as well. So in all those bits that we're going to be doing, WebEx sessions that we're going to be doing, there's tons on the Hospice UK website to help you. So there's videos of me teaching some of this, so please do go there to look. And there'll be other video clip sessions that we will ask you to download and watch prior to some of these sessions. All good? So now it's about just going to you in your rooms and thinking what's going to work for you. Have I been on mute? No, I haven't. Okay, so I'll put in the chat box here what to do. So 2 things. 1, do we want feedback as well? Oh, I should have just shrunk this maybe. Is it coming back in now? I should have moved that one. Yeah, true. It impacts. Such. Just. Yeah. Okay. Try to Lucy. No, I just need to Lucy Smith. I didn't see these questions coming in. Definition of performance. Performance is being on task. Happy and yeah, making a difference. Yeah. Isn't that called distraction? What's this? Yeah. So two things. How long do we have? Get in the car, 15-minute journey. That's great. Oh. Okay, look, be more strict than myself. Born family life soon as you get through the door. Tough way, yeah. Okay. You're typing, but nothing else. Okay, everybody. I can hear you. You can hear me typing. I just try to be quiet while you all talk. So I'm just answering questions in the chat box. So if any of you have got more questions, I think the next time what I'm going to ask Marie to do here at Hospice UK is to help me manage the questions so I can do the presenting, because I'm now answering some of the old questions that you asked me before. So one of the questions that came up was a challenge. One of the questions that came up was a challenge to my statement that poor physical health impacts your energy, and that I think it can impact your energy, very much so. It doesn't have to have negative consequences, but it depends on how you as an individual experience that. So if you're used to high physical energy and then it becomes low, of course that's going to, that may impact how you think. It won't always for all people, but it will for some people. So we are now done here. We are done with our webinar, and so what? Let me just close the chat for a minute. Hi everybody, I'm just coming in to say thank you very much for attending. It's been a pleasure working with you. We've come to the end of our 45 minutes. If you've got any questions, please do send them through to Marie, and next time we'll be thinking about how do you manage your whole self. So I will be still doing chat for the next 15 minutes if anybody wants to chat, and if you want to send me a question and do that out loud, have a chat out loud, I'd be super happy to do that. So to join the WhatsApp group, please email Marie your phone number, and the phone number that you feel happy to join a WhatsApp chat at. So thank you very much for attending. Yeah. Yeah, next time, there'll be a couple of downloads next time. Okay. Thank you very much for coming.